Hello everyone, welcome back to a continuation for our API programming. We focused a lot on Python so far. What we were doing in the previous sessions, 1 second team, someone's just sent me a message. Team, okay, so for those of you who are attending for the first session, let me be clear. This is SDET 2, okay? So for in general, SDET, we finished one week, long 20-30 hours of sessions. So there are videos for you to watch. You will find it in itelam.com/sdet-training. Go here. Now, all the videos that we did from week 1 are here. So you have to watch all videos from previous batch. And in that, we went through a lot of content, everyone, just so that you have a decent idea of what all we did. I'll quickly open it up. This was as first of March. So individual sessions team, we started with a little manual, then we went into automation, then Selenium IDE, record and playing, a little bit of identifying elements. We spoke about automation basics. We went into Selenium WebDriver. Then we learned a lot about JUnit, why it is used, those simple nitty-gritties. That was session 5. Then we went into linear framework with Selenium WebDriver in Java. And we've also kind of looked into functional decomposition. What are those basic levels? We, after that, started to focus on data-driven framework, where we used Apache POI and how we read and write from an Excel file to run our tests. We did a few more on these topics that you see out here, team, absolute relative experts. And then we went into keyword-driven framework. We spent a little time there. Lot of learning here, especially at the code, how we do error handling, how we take screenshots, how we talk about keywords and so on. Then we put that into hybrid framework and we said this is how we are implementing. So team, it will be a good idea as a refresher for you to go back to those videos so that way you are able to look into that as well. Where is that? Out here. So all these videos are here, team, including some of the project assignments that was being done. Now we are in this section here. Okay, we are getting into more here. And back into the document itself. Where is it? Okay, sorry. Then we spoke about log4j, how it is installed, how we implement it, how do we do logging of what we do. We spoke about Python basics and how we can do similar things in Python. We did go very deep, but the whole idea is Python with Selenium WebDriver. How do they both work in combination? That's what we were in there. Post which we went into our automation framework challenge. I think we did some offline. The team did some great tasks out here. And this was really something where we could do hands-on team. And a lot of activities were done by the team, a lot of assignments that we did and also presented. Then we got into a different JPAT group, but before that, sessions, yeah. We went detailed into TestNG team. We compared it with JUnit. We said, how are they different? We looked at all the annotations, testng.xml, and we were evaluating POM, page object model, and page factory. We set up everything, and I believe we ran into a couple of issues at that time. And that is where I think we ended as a POM PF, page object model, page factory. And now we are here somewhere. So that was the first one. Good to keep that here. Okay, team? So that's the collection, and we are continuing on the same. Now the idea is out here for us to be able to go into API programming. That itself is spending significant time. We are learning things at length. So let's continue, everyone, then. Now, where are we? We are out here, API for beginners. And so we spoke about a lot of things. We looked at Postman, we looked at API, how we do it at different levels manually, then using tools. Then we also did using programs. So what is it that we did in PyCharm? Let us look at it, team. This is this. There you go. I think this is what we were creating, everyone. API. So first one, let's take a look. All we did is we installed requests by saying pip install requests. Watch those first videos, please, of how we got here. We gave our URL and we're saying this is going to be my response. So team, keep this fundamental concepts very clear for us. We're sending a request and get request, and we will get a response that will be stored here. Now, whatever is the details of the request in terms of status code or headers or anything that it returns, we could now capture, or even JSON data and so on. So I've used google.com to see if I'm able to ping the website and if it is giving me a 200 OK response. And always, team, make sure that you keep referring to these, where it says what are the different types of errors. 200 being success, 300 series in the redirection, 400 is a client side, there's an error, the denying it, 500 is a server error, like internal servers and so on. And then the next one we use regress.in, and then we ended this. So when we execute this, and team, so you need to please make sure you follow the previous sessions on this. That is how you'll get till here. So if I basically do a simple execution of this, it is pinging each of these websites, and if there's no issue with it, it primarily gives us. Now, if there is a website that is totally unknown, it would, I'm assuming there is no website like this. Assume, you never know. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? New connection. So there's a connection establishment itself failed for us. We could not get into it. And in fact, in this session, we'll look at how we handle some of these exceptions, team. Okay? So you are making sure where you're connecting, what you're sending as inputs, what it gets as outputs. So far, we're only sending the URL, team. We'll look at how we can send payloads now. What else did we do in this? I started recording that. Yes. So, you know, this was a good one to play around. Let's see what we did with 03. That's nice. And then 04. So we were just incrementally playing it around. So let's go to 02.api. 02.api. Here, I see there's a function and it has got get response details, and I'm sending a URL to it. And it basically will be able to perform all of these transactions and return whatever is happening. So we can always keep, I don't want to change this team, but you can keep them into try catch blocks, this part of the code, and say, whenever I'm calling this, try this code. If it's failing, give something else. Not try catch, try acceptance. And now comes the main code. And I'm saying import request, print hello. This is my URL, get response details. Now, instead of a long code, which was repetitive for each, we just created a structure. And get response details, end of the code. It is doing exactly the same thing, but a little bit more organized. Clear, everyone? Then we did 03 API. How is this different? I have two functions. There is one function which we saw, get response details. Now the other one, get 200 only. So we will get the response into VRES, and only if it is 200 am I doing it here, or I'll say failed or non 200 response, please check. So that way, if I send anything, see, look at this. Now this was an interesting one. You all remember regress.in. Anyone who have not attended the first few sessions? Because it's a continuation team, I just want to make sure that you all have knowledge on it. So what we were doing is we were going to regress.in and API users. So there is a get command or a get request that we're sending. So it is for list of users, I believe. This, which is the URL API/users. Users slash the user ID itself team. So look at this just to make sure. User to exist, user 25 does not exist in this case. So when I run this 02 API.py, it's going to execute. It will tell me 200, 200. When it gave me a 404, I will give something specifically for it, saying that, hey, this did not exist, and so on. Now, in here, so instead of entering it from users 1, 2, 3, and so on manually, we're just putting it to for loop, and we're kind of incrementing it. We're starting with range 0 to 20, and I will be getting incremented. I'm making this as a string and putting it to the end of the URL. That becomes what I will pass it to get 200 only. So now, when I run this for the same thing, it will run for all the 20 users, one after the other. Wherever it will keep passing, it will say that 11, 12, 13 fails, see, non 200 response, and it ends after 19. So we are able to loop through things, team. We're able to say where we're going, what we're doing on it. Then came the API post. Now, so far we were sending a get response, and we were getting some content back. We were not looking at all the content so far, team. We were only looking at it. Now, what is this post details? Like I have these functions that I created, get response, get 200 only. I created a new one called post details. What does it do? It posts onto our application, onto our web, the details of whatever we want to send. Now, in this case, what is important is those data that we are sending to. The data that we are sending right now is gonna go into vdata. So I just don't need URL. I need some data to be able to post, because post is always like you're making a first entry. You need a record. You need some data in. Now in this case, I'm saying let us say post with D1. This is one set of data. Now we'll look at what these mean and how this key value pairs will work for us. And let me also print type and so on. Let's look at this. So yes, and then status code, and if there is a JSON data that is coming back, I'm going to print and take a look at that. All right. Let's see. Now, each of this is doing one thing. This is my first set of data. Then I'm saying post details. So what am I sending? This URL and this data. So how do I know that for this login to this website, this is how it is required? We already know the structure. You should be able to be aware of the structure. See here, post. Let's see, create API users. This is for name and job. It will create a new user. And here we're doing post login successful. So if we do a login successful, a response will be a token will come saying that response 200 and a token. Now, do note this team. This is a JSON data and this is also JSON data. JSON is basically called JavaScript object notation. It's got nothing to do specifically that you can only use it with Java. You can use it with any programming language. It's become a pretty popular one. So now when I execute this, it will take this data B1 and try and post it into this URL. So what will it do? It will tell me what this is. It will print the status code and the data. This way I have email and password. Then I only have email, no password. Then I have something else, password 345 and some other values. Now I saw a successful login. Now if I see an unsuccessful login, you would notice maybe I did not send all the details and it will give me a 400 response. And here is my error message. So I'm going to perform that same in here now. So each time, how many times will my function get called? Can someone tell me, please? Post details. I just want to see how involved everyone is. How many times is post details getting called? Perfect. I got only few answers compared to all the participants. That's okay. And team, anyone who's not a member, please letting you know, your subscription will get will need to be renewed. So please reach the team if you need to. We'll have to cancel yours after this. But members, no. See, post details D1, D2, D3. We are sending 3 samples. So post details 3 times we calling. Okay. Now let's see what we get as a result. Click run. It almost took me 20 minutes to summarize the session, team. First one, 200, no problem, all good. We got a token code. With that token code, I'm authenticated that I have an active session going on and I'm a logged in user, I can do whatever. The next, I sent incorrect data and that is why we're getting this responses 400, this is this, JSON data, this is what I got. And then for the other one, missing email or user. You are able to directly interact with the application, not using a web front end or anything, by sending a get or a put or a post or a push all this requests and be able to look at what is coming back to us. Now, do you remember I made one change here? I added this type called D1, type D2, and so on. Where is it coming? Can anyone tell me what type it has come to? What did it print? We have asked it to print the type. What is the type of it? No one? It's there, team. You can see it. JSON data. No. What is line 27 printing out? What is the type of D2 or D1? What is the type of D1 or D2 team or D3? Then I need to, there you go, finally. That's a Python dictionary object. It contains that specific type of information in what we call as a key value pair. Okay. Now, very important team, if you don't get that concept, I'll show you very quickly. New 05 underscore. Let's talk about lists, tuples, dictionaries first. So you understand the difference that's primarily there between each of them. So when we talk about a list, what is a list? List is like an array. They are specifically there in an order, and you can change them, and you can also have different data types, unlike Java. So for example, I can say there is a list L1, L1 it equals square brackets. I'll say 1, comma 10, comma okay. Now this is one list. So whenever I want to see the type of this list, I can say print type of L1, and I can print any specific thing. But say print L1, it should be able to print the whole thing for me. Or I can go to the specific item in that list and say, you know what, I want the first one, or I want the second one, third one. So okay, so let's quickly run this. It says class is list. Class is nothing but the type of this variable. That's list. And here is the overall information. And this is what we have. See, now, one of the things that I did here, team, is basically to say that I have ting, 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 ting. This is a string. This is a number, like an integer. This is another string and a boolean. I can put any different type of data in this. So let's say I put L3 and L4. I can get the details of it. I can run. Now, definitely we'll get this because we've gone out of the range, out of that list. So you can always get the length of it and say, what is the print the length of it? And then we could loop through it. So there are 4 items in this list. So what I will say, for I in range starting from 0 to length of L1 minus 1. So this is basically print all items in a list using length. Tick, 17. I'm assuming you're all comfortable with basic programming on Python, everyone. If not, just keep doing it, just keep practicing. It's not at all rocket science. Now, the same thing, since I don't know, you can have 100 items, 1,000 items in a list. I'm putting it in and saying print everything. Start with what you can and start. So, Boolean, of course, it doesn't come up as any specific thing out here. Oh, no, wait. Length L1. I didn't print 0. So 4 after 4, 1, 10, it didn't print. When I did this, it printed string. And or more simpler, you can navigate through the whole list. These concepts are important, team. That's why I'm kind of expressing it. For J in L1 is enough, team. I'm just saying for anything in that list and print J. So it is like saying go through each item in the list. That is what Python is already doing it for us. Here I'm saying count 0, 1, 2, 3, go till this, and then we can do anything. You can also change the data. And all this is kind of done. This is what we're getting. Now, what is the difference? This is all good with list. When it comes to a tuple, just rename this refactor. Refactor. Just rename. Is it down below? Let me see. Function F2. Okay. That's fine. Let me first run this. Hence, now I can rename it to just what is the list. Okay. Now let's talk about in a very brief way what a tuple is. See, the reason tuple is important is that it's the only difference is you cannot change anything. It is fixed for you. So if you copy the same thing, okay, into a new one, and let's call it 06 underscore tuple, and I'm changing the square brackets to a regular rounded ones. So that makes it a tuple. And all this is fine. The only thing should be line 7. Do you see this? Where I'm changing the value. And here, this will throw an error. You cannot kind of put to it. The same thing is to add to a list and so on. And you can convert a list into a tuple, but primarily for security purpose or any kind of a privilege access and so on. You don't want to give to everyone. So far what happened, you can just get this into, we have a variable, they're like single holders. Okay, you can put anything in it. You have a list that you can have 1, 2, 3, whatever items you can have. You can have multiple dimension lists also. Or now we're talking about the next thing that is called dictionary. And here the most important thing is the key value pair. So what happens in a dictionary is you are able to store data differently. Here, when it's variable, I call it by the name. In a list, I'll use the index of it. In a dictionary, you're going to use the key value pairs. So this is 07 underscore. So it could be anything, team. It could be simple things like your IP addresses that we talked about, or machines that we do, or even humans. Let us say we talked about some IP addresses. This will be interesting. Let's say there's a remote machine. Now, for a dictionary, what is important is we start with a curl bracket, and more from a perspective of, sorry, what am I trying to say? Is I'm putting things down. I'll say a name to it, and then colon a value. I'll say zone A, and then there's an IP address to it, and that I'll say is dot 2 dot 3 dot, and I'll say active is true. Now this is my dictionary things, the tabs that I've given. It doesn't like. And also each one separated by a comma. Now I have name, I have an IP, I have the status of. So this is, for example, one machine team. About a machine, I've got the detail. Now, if I say print machine one, and I also say print type, what is the type of this object? You will then be able to see what's coming across. 07 dictionary, please. So name zone, so it's got all the details that we have, and the class is dictionary. Now, the importance of this is primarily due to you can specifically say what you want in it. I want, let us say, the name of it. And right now we just have one record, but as you have more and more records, you can basically say what it is. And that's this zoning. And you could have things like if MC1 and active, then print because it's a boolean. Else, now, when we get to JSON, you'll understand it's so similar to this. Here it is active. And now if I say this is false, it will say it is not active. Now that's your dictionary team. Dictionary will help you to maintain things as a key on the left side and a value on the left and the right side. So key on the left and a value on the right. So you can store data accordingly. Now that is what we did here. So each of this D1, D2 and all this are nothing but your Python dictionary objects through which you're sending the details. What is the detail I'm sending? I just want an email and a password to be sent, and we are able to send. Clear, everyone? Team? Now, let's talk about very simple JSON data and what we can do. We'll play around with JSON a little bit, team. So, let us say I want to play with JSON. For number one, you have to have import JSON key. So do a pip install JSON, please, all of you. 08_ JSON1. So I'm going to import JSON. So the only thing I want you to keep in mind, did I show you? Let's go to w3schools.com. Learn JSON. So I was talking about JSON as a JavaScript object notation team. It is very similar in terms of how you look at content being stored, and different applications are able to use this to quickly transfer status, data, and so on between them. So nothing much that you want to see in this here. A lot of this is on VB script oriented, so you can ignore it, team. But something specific I wanted to show you here. JSON syntax, let's see. Key value. So there's a key colon value. That is the important point there. Second, curl brackets and different data types that you can put inside JSON. Primarily, you can say name is John, and even single quotes is fine. Ting, ting, ting. Not here, not here. JSON versus XML. This is a nice representation. Look at this employees table in here. Okay. And it's got many employees, first name, last name, first name, last name, first name, last name. How to get and read each of them will come to maybe tomorrow, but today let's focus on writing some of these things. The same data, which is there as JSON format, is now also, you can see it as an XML example. is all about, again, talking about what is the data, how you navigate, how you get the information is only difference. Here we're using the key value pair. So we're saying first name, where, what is the value. The same concept here, but too many tags, beginning tag, ending tag, beginning tag, ending tag. So JSON made it much more simpler for us to store the same content. Right? Now, just brief dots there, data types is important. Little difference only. For example, ting, ting, ting. I'll show you directly. I don't think it's doing anything. Let's do it in import now. Import JSON. So how do you do import JSON, team? So you basically want to do pip install. I'm sorry. If you don't, if you have a latest version, then it should be able to get you that. Not find a version that satisfies the requirement JSON, no matching. Collecting JSON, no matching distribution form for JSON. Pip install JSON only, right? Pip install JSON. Install JSON. It's already there on my system, team. For anyone it's successfully doing it right now? Install. Team, anyone is able to do the same and tell me if you're able to get the latest JSON onto your thing? In PyCharm? Let's write the code and see, team, if it works. Okay. Now, like D1 that we did in our dictionary, let's write an object that has something similar to it. Okay. So I'll copy this rather than copy. Let's copy this. Take it here, and I'll put it in here, team. But all this is one set of data. Now, since this is going into multi-line, I will put it into 3 single quotes at the beginning and 3 single quotes at the end. This is now holding my JSON data. Should I try and work on this code and see? Now we'll be able to know. Now, when I say print J1, so this is JSON, right? So I'll just say this is J1. And also the type of J1. Let's see what we're. Yeah. Oh, I think it is all smaller case. That is number 1. Second, but installation I don't think would have affected. Let me see. So when I said print the details, it's printed to me whatever it has. Do you see this, all of you? And then the type it's saying is string. The reason it says is string is very simple. It's got all of this data under these 3 single quotes. If I put it in the same line, for example, I have something like this. You'll understand the easy difference. So here I just have, let us say, J2 name, zone name, zone PLC. Practice I'm doing, team, it'll become very smooth for you slowly. Active false, and so this is true. And now I don't need to use 3 single quotes for it because no more multiple lines. It's in single line. it goes in as a string. That's how I put that data. Okay. So if I run this for J2, you would see this thing. So both are strings just because how we're storing it. Now let's do something simple here. We know this, right? So in this, now I can basically go to J2 and say I'm looking at the specific key of the status, and I'm saying that I'm looking at it being active or no. Very similar to what we were doing in our dictionary. Let's say I want to print if J2, what is the status there, or also print IP. What this is doing is it is basically letting you access the data, and you should be able to see that it says J2 string indices must be integers. So how do you get this data? So what you need to do, team, locally, you need to put it into, use the loads command. Okay. So the way we'll do it is I'm writing and it's taking few seconds to appear here. Will throw type error. So you basically are unable to read directly to it unless you say my or anything JSON equals JSON dot, and you would see a couple of things that we will work on, team. Dump, loads, dump, and dumps. Okay, so loads is basically when you send a string as an input, and in here I will say I'm sending J2. Okay, and now I could try to print this. Just very small. Yeah. Okay. And what do I have, team? IP is there, no? IP is there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is what we are expecting it to print right now. So let's see. Which one has an error? JSON decode. Okay. Which one? Tick, 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 tick. Let me give J1 once. I'll know why this is happening. It's primarily because I put it with one line to these strings. So this again is an issue. Come on, it's very slow, team. Somehow my system will throw an error as we stored as a string. So primarily anything inside it, for it doesn't matter in. That's why we're not able to dig deeper into. For us, what we can do is work with the J1, where we split into multiple lines with the 3 single quotes at the beginning and 3 single quotes. This is only when your data is there within your program itself, team. If there is an external file, it is different. How much time do we have? I want to implement a couple of things on this. So also let's print the type. Yes. So now we will see. So did you understand, team? There's a list and tuple, only it can change, cannot change difference. And there's a dictionary, and then this JSON. So my, okay, sorry, not IP, the whole of my J. IP by itself is a string. Which line did it fail now? Line 19. Again, I didn't change anything in that. Oh, it was still failing, team. Line 19. I didn't observe this. Why is it failing? My JSON.loads, and I'm passing J1 into it. It's not supposed to throw an error for us. Let's write a very simple code once. 08 JSON loads. So it starts with import JSON. And then let's have a JSON file, simple one, data. This is fine. So till print, everything is good. As is. Let's run this first. Make sure this is good. No issues so far. Now what we're doing is I'm saying my J equals JSON.loads, and I'm giving J1 into it. So then I'm going to print my J, type of my J. First, let's see. No, I think it is only because it's not installed something maybe. Why would it throw an error otherwise? Let's see. This is the data I have. Name IP 23. If I make any mistake here, I'm seeing deeply, just in case there's any error here. It's definitely JSON decoder expecting value line 5 column 16. Line 5 column 16. Something wrong here too. That's the problem. It printed J1, said the type is string. Everything looks correct on that. What is wrong with this? Actually, it will immediately convert it also to the type of J1 term, dictionary team out here. It no longer will be a string. Once I say my JSON.loads, it should convert it. but it is doing something fishy out here. It is not able to identify the data correctly. All right. Let's say this I'll change it once to name is 1, just a number. Name is of A and IP is 1. I'm just removing everything else. It's like this a lot of content which I don't know what it is. There you go. Did you see that, team? There is the only reason was the something that I added as extra fields in here, and that messed it up. It was just the format of it. There's something that was there all the way, and I had to delete. Okay, so that got fixed. Now, if I do that same here and rerun this, so this one is line. I just have to do this. Okay. This is working, JSON loads. So I can forget the other one. Say in simple file, and you're saying simple data, and we're loading it. Okay. Now this is JSON loads. Now I'll create a new one called JSON load. And you'll notice the difference in this team. The purpose is almost the same. I want to do exactly this. My data, I want to put it into a JSON file. Whatever I have here, I may want to put it into a JSON file. So what I can do is in the same one, I'll say a new file. All this is j1.json. And in this, I'm going to take the data and put the content in. So what is important in a JSON data is I'm just doing the formatting thing. The key value pair and your curl brackets basically defining the limiters, and you're putting it in an external file right now. So I need to say where my file is, team, and then we need to talk about writing into that file. So I will say in this input JSON, let's say J2 equals, that's a J2 file equals open. In this case, what is the name we gave? It's in the same folder, so I don't have to worry too much. j1.json, and we're going to open this in a, that's the name of the file. Let's say we want to read it or write on it or whatever, whichever basic way you're trying to get it. Nothing here. I don't know. Let me delete this. So basically, we've read the file, and now I will say my JSON locally equals J2 file, whatever this file is. We can of course write this into one step also, but I like to keep them separated. Dot load in this case. J2 file. No. JSON dot load. See, load as is where you're sending a string into. Load, you're sending a file into. And here you're gonna say what's the name we gave? J2 file. Clear, everyone? So now it's the same thing from there on. Whatever we wrote here, I could kind of repeat the same things. jprint, and in that, if we have data that is, let's say IP, I'll say print the IP. Let's see this now. So one is directly, one the other is from this. Now, why are we trying to do this, team? Primarily to be able to also stitch this with API and JSON. So how do I do this? What do I mean? Very quick. So I won't take more than 5-10 minutes, team. 10 API JSON. So all that we're doing here is, let's do the simpler one, which we did for regress itself. So this data is there in details. Sorry. Ouch. My URL. Ting, ting, ting. I need this. This is good. Actually, I like the whole function, but I'll do things simple. Just get the URL. Login is a good one. So let's try login. And the data is there. Let's take this. So I need to both import the request and I need to import JSON. And I have my URL here. Now my data could be in here, team, and that is fine. But if it has to be as a JSON data that we're saying, let's put it as a string, and we can then send it as a input. Okay, so we'll look at it. I'm trying to do. I'm totally lost. So far, is it good, team? You're getting the idea of how we are able to take this APL login. We will get done. Did we already do that? I'm just going to review this. Team. Post details D2. Post details. So we have request.post. JSON. So login successful is what we're doing, team. We're trying this. So that's our URL, that's a data, that's a response, and the token that's also coming as a response. You see this? Now you could have this stored in an external file and be able to send it. That's the one main thing that we do. So here I have j1.json. So similarly, I'm going to create a new one. Just a file. It's not a Python file anymore. I'll just say this is what one.json. So in here, the details that we have for this user, I'm going to copy it and put them there. Now, this is the right information. So I will also make a copy of this rect2 wrong or rect2, I'll say. And here, let's say the password is missing. Back to my code. What we're trying to do here, team, is just like what we did in a previous one. We will read it from a file. And this is J1 is rect1.json. Read this. And this will upload 1 second. Open rec1 for read mode. and we're sending this, load it into my chain. I don't know if I'll be able to send this out. How did I send it here? URL and data. Data is gone like this. I'm sending data as a file. And it should not be a problem to send data from file. That's my URL. Let me do this functionality. This looks decent fast. It's post details. It will post, it will say what, it will get the status code. It will also get the JSON data. So I'll say my J is post details, my URL, comma, J. And we will know what's happening here, team. Let's do this first. It's not doing anything. Did it run the test? Post details. There's so many errors are coming, team. 17. Send us details for login at least first. What are the ones we have? So it says J2 equals this details, which is the valid ones. And let's sign in J2. And it works fine with it. Now, this would return the JSON data, right? It sends me the token. So let us say you want to put this token file into somewhere outside team. So this would be important. So I'll show you how we can do that. So again, if there's no file, it will create it for us. I'll say out file equals when just call this different out JSON comma in write mode. The first one we opened it in the read mode. Now we're opening it in the write mode. I'm going to say JSON.dumps. Dump is for a string team, but if you have the whole file, then we are putting this. So in here, what we're going to do is we already know what is this vres.json, right? So this also has to go there. Output file. See, this dump method takes a few parameters, team. The first and foremost is the data that we're getting from here. So this is vres.json. That is the JSON data we're getting back using the token. The second one, where should I write it? So I'm putting it into this output file. And you could add things like indents and so on. Let's run this and show you what happens here, team. Did you see out1.json got created? And the token also has come on in for us. Now, the same thing, where is it? So the format, if you see, is all in one line. Of course, there's only one thing here. You could always do something like indents and say indent equals 2. You could do encoding and a few things, team. Basically gives the better structure to that output file. So where it takes it into different sections. Now, the same function, if you send incorrect with anything missing, for example, one.json didn't get saved. Should have got or J3, and I'm going to lose the email out here. Just keep the password and now try and reuse the function for this post details. Post details is actually not returning anything, so I really don't need to capture them. So you always got that here, but let's put it out into a JSON. It says whatever the website is giving to us, we're capturing it out here as well. So this JSON format is important, and there are a lot of web applications that you can use. There are free APIs to be able to play around a lot. And we also have to do a little bit on JSON dumps tomorrow, team. But let me see, there was one IP ranges of Amazon. Not this. This is used for EC2 instances by region. So primarily, Amazon, AWS, and how it hosts content for us. S3, CloudFront, EC2, different methodologies in it. This specific JSON file has a list of all the IPs by region, by service, and so on. So you have one key as sync token, create date, and then prefixes. Under prefixes, you have all of these that you see, right? So you can specifically write code to be able to drill down on these things. And this becomes very key for how we work and on continuous testing of APIs, all the applications that we're interacting with. So I'll say IP range equals, we will get all the ones from this URL. Just a request get. I'll set this URL. I think I can give all this URL, entire URL. And all I want is the IP range is there, right? IP request, IP response. Now IP response dot JSON would basically have the JSON data in it. And but even this could be very large. So if I say print this, it will become very large. Now, what I could do is I could specifically say what I wanted. And let's say we are only looking at definitely the prefixes in this. So this is not really there. Now, if I get this data, I want to put somewhere IP data equals here. IP underscore prefix. Let's do this, and if I print IP data, it will still be humongous. Of course, whatever we're seeing there, that's what we get. It's horizontally get all the. Now you could basically filter them to specific ones team, where the region is so and so, and this is so and so. So there's simple one-liner code. Let us say that we're looking for all regions. Let's split it by region. Do you see the different regions? Asia Pacific, Southeast, and so on. So let us say we take something like any region, SA East 1. Okay. 5 minutes. We'll be done with the main concept here. We practice a lot from here now. So I'll say SA East equals looking at what item do we want? This item. I want the IP addresses, okay? And I'll say different IP underscore prefix. And this is within one square bracket, not ending the square bracket, for item in IP data. If I'm sorry if I'm confusing you a lot. See, what we're doing is we've defined something called item. That item, this is what I want to fix. This item is in IP data. As long as it meets the criteria that if the item region that we're looking at is SA East 1. Item region equals SA East 1. Now that becomes my SA East list of all of them. So if I print this now, I should be able to see only the ones for SA East. So see, I'm only getting the IP addresses. And that is only for a specific segment. Similarly, you can add any of these segments that you have. And let's say now let's say test. And here, okay, let's say rest. I don't know what is the name here, so we have to be very specific about it. Is there something called the West or US West is there too? So we can try that. US West 2. And this is US West. You're primarily filtering. You're filtering your data. You're getting what you want by sending a GET response. So you may get a lot of content. Which content you want to take, filter that, and what you want to do with it. You can then put all of this into a simple dump it into a file for us to look at. So for dumping it, we'll just do this. But again, what is the result that we're getting? Item, each item. So what we can do, so let's say US West I want to export. So first, let's say my JSON data equals JSON dot dump whatever we got. Actually, dumps will get it as a string. And where did we put that? In US West, right? So now it has gone into my J. That's my data. So I can just primarily put file is US West JSON, and I'm taking my J for file. I need to use dumps because yeah, I'm using dumps. But why again I'm using dump? My J, yeah. Okay. From this, I'm converting it into JSON data locally, and then I'm putting it into a JSON file. Actually, I can directly put it using dump into a file, but my J would be the JSON data be result.json. So whatever is coming here. Let's run this and see. There is US West, and then we have all the data from that. All right. It's the filtered data that we've got. So primarily team, all this API calls that we're trying to do, any get, push, post, and delete, any of these activities is trying to play around with this data. What are we sending? What are we getting? What are the status codes? How do we handle based on that? What should be important is how we can flow through them one by one slowly and make sure you're able to point to the right one, think of the exact criteria that you're using, and you should be able to build on further. Now, team, having done this, back to our content. So there's a here, and for Java, we need to use something like REST assured and so on, team. Not yet, but I want to get started with Git and GitHub from tomorrow, and then we will do some Jenkins. Good, everyone. Any other questions from what we did so far today? This has got immense amount of practice that you need to perform experiently. Just these set of 10 code files, run them one by one, and you should be free. I know, and for some of you who are not very fond of programming or not too much into it yet, it will be a little overboard to begin with. But I'm sure as you keep practicing, it will get easier. Be aware of what is where, how things are happening. You can master them. Any questions, everyone? I'll see you back tomorrow then, same time. All right. Thank you all. Bye now. Take care.